Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here. We've got Mike Miller joining alongside our high school guy and our third man in the press box today. Andy Graham is pulling double duty, volunteered to go cover soccer tonight. So he's out there at Armstrong Stadium. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
That's important. I should know that. But anyway, so he's covering soccer, so you can read his insights obviously in the paper in the morning. Anyway. Indiana today falls 31-27 to Michigan State in what, despite the losses, probably, there's almost no question they'd be their best all-in-all effort under Kevin Wilson really to this point. But they were up 17-0 out of the gate, 27-14 at half. Find a way to lose this one to Michigan State. Just really went from just a brilliant first half to a second half where they really couldn't do much of anything. Had 280 first half yards. Cameron Coffin was absolutely cruising, and after that they had 37 yards in the second half, and it sort of all vanished in a hurry. Basically, just to start, Mike, just what did you see change? I guess what was different about this team from first half to second half?
Not much changed, especially offensively. Just listening to Michigan State guys, they were just saying the one thing that they really keyed on is that nothing changed. They had the game plan going in, and they didn't have to change anything.
Right.
That sort of vanilla offense, Indiana didn't really try to stretch the field at all. So I think that hurt them too. I guess a lack of originality in play calling was certainly a thing they had to overcome.
A little bit in the second half, and I think what they sort of pointed out, and nobody really gave a great definitive answer for this, but what Indiana did really well, like early on, is they got themselves on schedule by doing a lot of bubble screens, swing passes, and that kind of stuff, just to get a few yards, just to get moving. They found Shane Wynn had 12 catches today. They used him a lot, just getting the ball out on the perimeter and just sort of forcing Michigan State just to go chase people and then running tempo basically, and just use a guy like Wynn who's speedy. You got to go chase him, then you got to go back on go get back on the line again, do another one, and then when you're so used to just running back and forth chasing these guys in the perimeter, then they beat you deep. Went deep on a couple of deep slant passes, deep post passes. He had Teddy Bolster on a 21-yard just go route down the sideline, and what they were never really even able to go to those kind of the breakback plays because they couldn't get anything going in the flats in the second half. It seems like Michigan State just really snuffed that out, and it was hard to tell exactly why or how they did that. I guess they were just more cognizant of it. Shane Wynn mentioned just they moved a weak side linebacker and kind of rotated him more toward the boundary a little bit so that he was closer, just kind of, closer on that edge. But it didn't seem like, other than that there was that much. Nobody, Cam Coffin said, I didn't see anything different, really. There wasn't much of anything. He mentioned the thing with the linebacker, but that was about the extent of it. He says, Coffin said over and over again, this was on us. We could have kept moving the ball that way. There's no reason why we couldn't have. It just didn't work out for us.
One thing, I don't know the exact numbers for time of possession in the fourth quarter, especially.
But it was amazing.
That killed them right there. They got to keep the clock moving. That killed them absolutely.
Yeah, no, they got into. I think they had 3 straight possessions that were 3 and outs, and that was when Michigan State really kind of finally got the running game going. Le'Veon Bell never really broke out and just busted on people, but it was just a slow, grinding, consistent effort. And just by the end of it, he'd finally kind of worn them down so that it wasn't no longer just 1 and 2 yard chunks he was getting. It was 5 and 6, and he was picking up the first downs when he needed them. He finished with 121 yards on 37 carries. That's not a great average. That's 3.3, and considering he's the leading tailback or leading rusher in the Big Ten coming into this game, that's not a horrible outing for Indiana, considering he was really their only rusher. The only guy who took the ball else at all was Andrew Maxwell, who finished with -1 yard on 5 carries. Le'Veon Bell had almost all of their rushes, and to give up only 120 yards on the ground to a team that has the best tailback in the Big Ten is not half bad. But it was just a slow, grinding effort. They just wore them down to the point that Indiana's defense just couldn't stop them when they absolutely needed to. And there was a 4th and 1 by the goal line that could have got them another possession, just a brief one at the end of the game that maybe they could have made a run with. They couldn't stop him on 3rd down. They just couldn't stop him on short yardage, and Bell just kept him on schedule just because he was just grinding. Just on top of that, Maxwell passed better than you've seen him. He's not he's still kind of figuring out the position after taking over for Kirk Cousins. He was 24 for 40 for 290 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Really stepped up in the second half, though. He really came alive, especially in that fourth quarter. He was a big factor.
Mm-hmm. And the receivers were too. Aaron Burbridge. Nobody's ever heard of this guy because he had 2 catches. as a collegiate as a college player up until this game. I'm sure somebody's heard of him because
Apparently
he's a
he
true
was a
freshman.
very
He must have
highly
been a highly touted,
like a 4-star guy out of Michigan or
I
something.
probably overstated that in terms. I don't know where he was ranked, but he had to be ranked pretty high considering him. He's just a heck of a player. He just hadn't really got a shot yet, but just was really able to outplay Indiana's cornerbacks. I think that's one thing you saw a lot was Indiana's cornerbacks, going man to man with guys and just getting beat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the first half they were able to hang, but in the second half, it was just sort of the general wearing down of the defense. I mean, in so many facets, guys just got worn down and couldn't keep up, and Burbridge just a steady force throughout the game, just plucking away, and wearing down that defense, moving them down the field.
Right, exactly. And also he mentioned time of possession. Just to quickly give you that number, Indiana had the ball for 1 minute and 46 seconds in the fourth quarter. Michigan State had it for 13 minutes and 14 seconds. So Indiana had like just two and outs. I think one didn't even take like 17 seconds or something like that.
It was 20 seconds.
It was 20 seconds. Basically, they had enough time to throw 3 incomplete passes and get off the field.
That's still unacceptable. I mean, that's just that. I mean, you can't expect to even be close. I mean, granted they were, but that was. I mean, it's hard to keep a straight face when you hear numbers like that. I mean,
yeah, no, it was rough. It was definitely rough, and it was just odd because considering how well they were able to do before that. I mean, this was what you saw in the first half from Indiana was exactly Kevin Wilson's vision. I mean, that is exactly what Kevin Wilson wants to do long term with his team. Be able to hit those short passes, be able to just throw the ball around, get tempo, keep it moving, have lots of plays, score fast. He wants to light it up. He wants to move the ball. He wants to throw it a lot, be able to set up, run with the pass, that kind of thing. And they did all of that. I mean, it was, and you consider how good Michigan State is defensively. They are the number 1 rated defense in the Big Ten. They're top 10 nationally in almost every category. Up until tonight, they lost 2 games to Ohio State and Notre Dame, but they had not given up more than 20 points in a game. Averaging, they were only giving up 263 point something yards per game. Indiana got 280 in the first half. This isn't just throwing against a team that doesn't have anybody.
Michigan State, they had a ton of penalties, ton of personal foul penalties.
They did too. They did help them out.
But Indiana, they really did earn those points. They earned the moving up the field. So I mean, it's you can look at the penalties too. But Indiana, I mean, that first half was
right. They took advantage of them. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but they definitely did. You saw probably more progress today, I think, than you've ever seen. Defensively, we talked about how they got worn out, how they got beat in the second half, but you do have to kind of give them a little bit of props for the first half, just considering how bad they were a week ago when they gave up 704 yards. At least, especially the first quarter, they gave up 22 yards in the first quarter. I think had back-to-back 3-and-outs to begin the game, and just attacked against a team that they knew they were probably going to be overmatched by. They just kind of attacked from the beginning. You could see that team, especially early, just building on a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement. They were just jumping up and down all over the place on the bench, and you just saw something just better from them. You probably saw some fire from them that you just haven't seen yet.
Absolutely, that's momentum building, and especially you look at the half, and I mean, I think they held Michigan State to only 50 yards on the ground, and I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen. I mean,
No.
That might have been like 2 series. That's probably what I would have guessed the output would have been from that. But I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, the momentum was huge all through the first half. They just couldn't find a way to just get it going in the second half. It was just a shame to see that.
Yeah, no, it was tough on that end for sure. But there was just a lot that they can take from this one. Especially going forward. I think a lot of people. I mean, obviously Michigan State beat them 55-3 last year. It was never close. Michigan State's not that good this year. They're not as good just simply because they don't have the weapons. Wide receiver wise, don't have that. Kirk Cousins is Andrew Maxwell is not where Kirk Cousins was a year ago. But still, I mean that's a pretty big jump. I mean, you're talking about from a 52-point loss to a 4-point loss. I mean, that's not what it all means. And obviously they said repeatedly over and over again. We're not into moral victories. This is not what we're looking for. We weren't looking to lose close. We were looking to win. But from this, I mean, they can take a lot going forward, I think. Probably more than probably any other game they've had this year. I think this is a building one. This is one that they could actually look at and say, hey, we were right there. Mike Eckler, said earlier this week, I know you guys probably think I'm idiots, 704 yards, but we're getting better. Honestly, I swear to God we are. And it finally looked it. I mean, you could actually see legitimate progress in basically every area. Again, second half doesn't go so well, but first half just about you saw progress. You saw some gleam, some promise just about everywhere.
That's the thing. If you're an Indiana fan, just take a step back. I know this is a very disappointing loss to hang in there with Michigan State, but I mean, as a whole, I mean, Indiana's getting closer. And you look at the little things; they're doing better at tackling. You know, the passing game's coming around a little bit. Of course, they're not finishing games. You need to do that to be successful, but you know, they're getting closer, and we're seeing that with each week.
And it is a long slog. I mean, when you say getting closer, it's not like they're a blink away from being, you know, a Big Ten title contender, or that they'll be there next year, or that they'll be there 2 years from now. But it is closer to being back to being competitive at the very least. It's to be on the point where they can put on a team on the field that has a shot to win every week.
Exactly.
And especially with this league, I mean, I definitely think, especially after watching this team this week, they're gonna get a league win. I really think they are. I mean, considering some of the teams in this league, the way they're playing. I mean, Illinois does not look good. You know, Iowa hasn't looked great. You know, Wisconsin didn't even look good today. I don't know that they can beat Wisconsin, but you know, like obviously Penn State's still vulnerable. Purdue, I think. How bad did they get beat by Michigan today?
It was
pretty bad.
It wasn't very good.
I heard it was pretty rough. I didn't really see it, but no, there's some things to be achieved for this team. There's some things that can be accomplished. I mean, obviously, it's a far distance from good. It's a far distance from a Big Ten contender. But this team, I think, showed more signs today that it has a shot to do something than it has to this point in Wilson's tenure. So, but we're gonna cut it off there. Thanks as always.